This is number 25, 2017B AMC10. This is not as hard as you would think. So first of all, let's take a look at Isabella. Isabella took 7 math tests and 7 different scores, each an integer between 91 to 100 inclusive. After each test, she noticed that the average of her test scores was an integer. Her score on the 7th test was 95. So this is a very important information. What was her score on the 6th test? First of all, we can actually simplify this particular problem by considering the test scores as 1 to 10 instead of 91 to 100. The reason is this. Say suppose you think about this. Say suppose you have, say, 91 and 93 in the first and second, just for example, okay, first and second. Isn't that when you find the average, you always have 90 and 1 and 90 and 3. So the average will be always 90, right? So 90 plus 90 divided by 2 will be 90. And then 1 plus 3 divided by 2. Basically, that's what you're going to get, so which is 92. So for simplicity purpose, you can just consider this as, instead of 91 and 93, you can consider just 1 and 3. The average will be 2, so the score will be 92. If you have 3 scores, say 91 and then another, say 92 and 93, suppose you add these 3 scores, it's the same as 90 plus 1, 90 plus 2, 90 plus 3 divided by 3. And then these 90s will always give you a 93 90s divided by 3 will be 90. And then you just need to consider the unit digits divided by 3, right? Which is, in this case, 6 divided by 3, it will get 92. So that's first little comments that I have. Just consider the units digits. So only consider the following numbers. 91 will be 1, 92 will be 2, and so on and so forth. 100 will be 10. Just think of those scores as these 10 numbers. Now, first of all, we do know that the average was an integer. So in other words, I'm gonna use S7 to represent the sum of the those 7 scores, right? Again, I only consider 1 to 10. I skipped the 90, so 7 of those scores. Because it will be an integer, therefore 7 should divide this sum of these 7 scores. And the 7th, the 7th score is 95. Again, we only consider the unit digits, which is 5, right? So therefore, the sum of the 7 will be sum of the first 6 plus this last one, which is 5. Again, I skipped the 90. And in other words, of course, for the S7, the sum of the 7, let's take a look at what would be the smallest possible sum of the 7 scores and what would be the largest. So the smallest sum of the 7, smallest S7 would be this. You just pick the smallest. 3, 4, there's no 5. 5 is used, and 6, right? And then plus 7. How about the sum of the smallest S6? Because the smallest 7 will certainly result the smallest S6. So I'm gonna just use those. This is 23. This gives me 23. In other words, the smallest possible S7 is gonna be 23 plus 5, which is 28, right? And then the largest S6 would be, you just use the largest, 10 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7 plus 6 plus 4. if you do the algebra, this is 10, 20, and then 37, 44, right? 44, which means 28, and then the largest is 44 plus 5, which is 49. Okay, those are the smallest possible S7 and largest possible S7, because we do know that 7 divides S7, which means S7 has to be a multiple of 7. And what are the multiples of 7 in between these two numbers? They are 35, 42. Okay, now which means the following. What are the possible number of S6, which is S7 minus 5, right from there, right? So which means 23, 30, and then 37, and then 44. Why I know that? Because just minus 5, just simply minus 5. Okay, those are the possible. And again, you do know that S6 supposed to be the average is supposed to be an integer. Therefore, 6 must divide this S6. And because of that reason, you quickly rule out these numbers, right? You quickly rule out those 3 because those 3 numbers, they're not divisible by 6. So therefore, S6 has to be 30. Okay, now let's consider S5. 5 must divide S5. And what is S5? S5 is going to be, now allow me to introduce another notation here. So I'm going to denote X1 as the first exam score, X2 as the second exam score. So X5 is the fifth exam score, X6, X7, and so on and so forth. We do know this is 95, and then we only consider the single digits, 5. So now what is possible S5? Possible S5, and at the same time it's also divisible by 5, and you can see that S5 must be either 25 or 20. Okay, either 25 or 20, and I know it cannot be lower than 20 because take a look at the smallest possible S5. You can pause the video if you want to think about it yourself. It's 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 6, right? Which is 16. So the smallest possible S5 is 16, and you cannot go any so you cannot go. The next number divisible by S5 is just 15. So but it's lower than 16, and at the same time, there's no another score from 1 to 10, so that you subtract that score from 30, you will get down to 16, 15. There's no such number. So it's just these two numbers. Now we are going to say only this is the possible value, because how do you get to 25? 30 minus 5, the last digit is 5, but 5 is used. And we know that you cannot use that. They're all different scores, right? So 95 would not occur other place. So therefore, 10 is the very last possibility, so it has to be 20. S5 has to be 20, which means, so therefore, we know S5 cannot be 25 because 5 is used, is taken right there, right? 5 is used. Therefore, S5 has to be 20, which means the difference, S6 minus S5 is going to be 10. So which means the X6 has to be 100.